Hello, and Kiora from New Zealand. Today we are going to go through my keynote presentation about the use of virtual reality and augmented reality for human behavior and disaster. And I catch this occasion to work on a review that is going to help pretty much who is new to this field and who is not really familiar with this new emerging technology to understand what those technology are and in which field and which occasion they have been applied already in science. Let's move on with the outline of this presentation. I'm going to start with the definition of what is virtual reality, augmented reality, and then I'm going to explain which approach I use to carry on this review that I'm going to present here. And then I'm going to show you what are the applications that I've been using for safety design to investigate human behavior and eventually to train people. And I'm going to conclude this presentation with some statement about what we can take home from this work. So we don't have so much time to present all these lots of study, so we need to speed up and go through the presentation. So let's kickstart. So if we think about augmented reality and virtual reality, we need to provide some definition because there is a bit of confusion. And to provide some definition, I've been using the taxonomy proposed almost 30 years ago. And you can see that we have a continuous here in which we have on one extreme augmented reality and on the other extreme we have virtuality. And all the technology that go between reality and virtuality are classified as mixed reality. So we can see that virtual reality is one of the extreme of this spectrum. Instead, augmented reality locates pretty much in the middle, but you can see that it's slightly closer to reality. And this is because if we think about augmented reality, it's a combination of reality with the integration of digital information that we can also call holograms. And the results is going to be a fully real environment in which we will start seeing popping up information or holograms that augmented exactly the experience. But from a scientific point of view, there is something more, and you can see that in the spectrum there is also something called augmented virtuality that is made of mainly digital elements in which there are still some real effects, real component in this representation, in this visualization. This presentation, this slide is going to help you to understand what are the hardware available today to carry on, especially augmented reality and virtual reality. In this presentation, I'm not talking about augmented virtuality, but you can use some of the reference in my paper to study more also this technology. So from a hardware component, let's start seeing what are the options that we got for augmented reality. You can see that for augmented reality, we have mainly two options. We have a video see-through, and you can see in the picture that there is a smartphone. That's with my smartphone, in which I try to create this augmented reality and have the view of Notre Dame de Paris on the floor of my university. And you can see that the majority of the view, once again, is reality, and then there is hologram popping up in the scene on my smartphone through a video. The other option is to use optical see-through, and you can see me wearing a funny glasses in which you can see that you can still see my eye, and that's because it's like pretty much a sunglasses on opaque glasses, and you can see that you have the possibility to project digital information on those glasses, and the result is that you start seeing a hologram popping up in your own reality. For virtual reality, instead, we have a different possibility. We can have a non-immersive technology, and we call them non-immersive virtual reality, and this can be achieved with a display, a simple display. or we can have more immersive situation and setup. The first one is by using head-mounted display, and you can see me wearing one of the most popular headset, is a Vive. But we can have also much more fancier and more expensive kit to have augmented virtual reality. In this case, you can see in the picture a cave, which is a room, and you can perceive from this picture, but on each wall there are two projectors uh, creating a overlapping of two images, and those images are polarized, and the person inside the cave is wearing some polarized glasses, so you have the possibility to perceive a 3D view exactly like the experience that you would have in a 3D movie in a cinema. And this is not just on a surface like in a cinema, but generally is done on multiple surfaces. In this case, in this picture, you can see four surfaces with this amazing experience. So, given the definition, we can pretty much say that most of us are familiar with the virtual reality, especially because all of us have been playing with the video games. So, most of us is really familiar with the non-immersive virtual reality experience, but the technology is becoming so popular and so cheap that now probably most of you have already experienced immersive augmented reality, and especially with the head mounted display. Instead, about augmented reality, sometimes the answer is like, I don't think I've been using quite a lot of experience. But if we start seeing many applications that we already have in our life, like reversing camera that have holograms helping us. Of course, this is quite popular everywhere, and I guess you have been experienced at least once. The joke here is that in Italy we don't really need those systems because we use physics. We go back, and then when you touch the other car, you understand that you're right. Joking apart, this is something that has been make our life much easier, and we have already a lot of video games like Pokemon Go that have been helping us to move around and catch Pokemon. And if you haven't tried, of course, you need to download this application and try at least to catch one Pokemon. For my review of this work, I've been starting from three key works that have been developed previously. There are three really important literature review, and basically, and they provide even more than a literature review, a lot of discussion about application of virtual reality and augmented reality. Starting from this work, I'm starting collecting those data, but then I told myself, come on, Rino, you can do more for this presentation. So I managed to go on Google Scholar and start searching for new study or study that weren't included in those literature review using the keywords that you can see here on the screen. And guess what? I managed also to define some criteria to say, okay, let's try to avoid old prototyping work and just keep things that have been developed and tested with the people and see what's the results from out of this study. And I'm quite excited to say that I managed to find in total 64 journal papers that I'm gonna go through no, just kidding, I'm not going one by one. I'm gonna today just give you an introduction and an overview of what has been done. And I would like to say, forgive me if I forgot one of your study. If you're watching, you say, hey, you missed my study. Please contact me so I can include your study and something that I've been missing in the future generation of this presentation. So we have already covered two elements of my presentation. The clock is still ticking, and so let's go through and see what has been done with these two awesome technology. So I would like to start talking about the use of those technology to design and testing a safety system. And going through the review, where you can see through the paper that I've identified more than 20 works on this. And if you see the type of disaster where they've been applied, most of them are related to fire. And that means that there is a lot that has been done, especially in our field. I can say that my field is more fire safety, so we should be proud of it because we have been applying quite a lot of virtual reality technology to test and experience and verify the effectiveness of different guiding system. You can see exit sign and many other components that we can use in our building to make them safe. Of course, I'm not having the time to go through all those studies, but I'm going to focus on some of key studies that have been particularly involved, and I think they are really must-read works, because not just because I've been involved, but because I think they were among the first study, and they have been creating quite a lot of interesting results. One of the most exciting study is about the cave study done by, I've done it under the leadership of Enrico Ronchi and Professor Nilsson. And this was at Lund University, in which they had the idea, let's try to use the cave system that we have somewhere in the basement of our university and try to see if we can use this technology to test and compare different exit portal for road tunnels. And you can think that this allowed us to experiment and test different layout without even building them, because otherwise you would have the need to manufacture those system and ask people, what do you think about this system? What do you think about system? And unfortunately, that was the painful work done by Daniel back in the time in which he had to do real experiment in the real field experiment and stop a tunnel, the use of a tunnel, bring people in a tunnel, and manufacturing try to create a different kind of setup and ask people what, or see people were reacting to different kind of system. In this case, it was much easier. It was just done in a digital environment, and it was much easier to bring people in a computer lab and test them to a cave system. Of course, this system was a bit expensive and still quite expensive. And another exciting study carry on still at Lund University and led by Enrico was to test the same kind of experiment with a much, much cheaper device, a head-mounted display. In this case, it was used, if I'm not wrong, a Samsung Gear VR, which is basically much, much cheaper than a cave. And Enrico managed to recreate exactly the same experiment and run experiment also with a mounted display. And what happened is that we compared the results obtained with the cave and the H-mounted display, and it was amazing to see that we can obtain really similar results. So this is showing that also with super cheap device you can get really awesome and comparable results that you will get with really more expensive technology. Augmented reality has been used also to test different systems, and in this case you can see that those systems are mainly through the have been focusing on the use and the testing of different holograms, and those holograms and there have been several type of holograms that have been tested and created, and those holograms have the skills, the capability to lead people towards either the safest exit or the closest exit. There are different kind of algorithm and technology behind those applications, and those were used mainly through smartphones, so we have video see-through application. And another interesting application of augmented reality is also visualization of results of evacuation drills or evacuation simulation, I will say, through an augmented reality. So if you have a real building and you manage to do a simulation of what will happen during an emergency, and you have people evacuating through different paths, you could potentially use augmented reality to have the visualization inside the same building and see how the holograms behave all around. And this is a much more engaging way to see results of simulation. So could be probably used in the future also from Pathfinder. That's my hope. In terms of investigation of human behavior, also in this case, there is quite a lot. And once again, you can see that the fire experiment in human behavior in fire are the leading one in the field. There are still other work that have been done, especially in earthquakes. I'm going to show you one of those. And let's go through and see what are the most relevant, some of relevant work. I would like to present you some of my early study that I did ages ago. In this case, I was using a really ugly non-immersive technology. In this case, it was a simulation done with FDS, and I was using the video of this not immersive simulation to ask people what would choose in terms of exit if they were in this kind of situation. So you can see that ages ago, the quality of those VR representation were pretty ugly. But then I managed to personally, and I can say many other fellow managed to improve it using new technology like Unity. And you can see that in this case, we are still using a video non-immersive reality, non-immersive virtual reality, but in this case you can see that the realism is much better, and this can be done just using a game engine that allow you to develop a more immersive scenario. But my dream was to develop something even more immersive in terms of exit choice. In this case, you can see that we managed to do it last year, and this was done by using a pretty big space, a 6 meter by 7 meter VR experience in which people could actually walk inside a digital room. They were actually in a physical room, but they were perceiving a digital room through their head-mounted display, as you can see in one of those pictures. And I'm going to show you a video showing how immersive was this experience. And once again, we were trying to understand which exit people would have chosen if they were in a similar situation. And this is the video. You can see that we create a quite immersive experience in which people were asked to go in a room for a meeting, and let's see what happened. So they were supposed to reach a specific point in the scene, and I'm gonna speed up this video. So they are waiting here for some information to pop up, and you will see that something's gonna happen fairly soon. Try to guess what. So you can see that people are evacuating. We developed multiple scenarios. This is just one of the one that we used. And you can see that eventually the person was making one of the choice of the three possible between the three possible exits. So we repeat this study with more than 80 people, and hopefully the results, the exciting results of this experiment, are going to be published fairly soon. And of course, follow me on LinkedIn so you can be aware about when this paper is out. Unfortunately, I didn't find many, or actually I didn't find a real AR study try to investigate mainly human behavior, because I don't know why. So there is still much that can be done using holograms and see how people will behave in real space, and popping up more different digital things that through augmented reality that can help us investigating different kind of factors that might affect those behavior. In terms of training, I would like to show you some of the work that I've done because this has been one of the key components of my postdoc. And but before going there, and before seeing the potentiality for training, I would like to show you once again that there is quite a lot that has been done, and not as much as the other two fields, but still there is quite a lot of exciting application. And in this case, you can see that it's not just about fire, but it's also about tsunami, earthquakes. So there is a lot of training that has been training tool that have been developed using these two technology. And I would like to show you especially one of my study done to investigate the pass, how to teach pass maneuver to people. And in this case, you can see that we use an application that is basically creating a digital immersion experience of a fire, in which you have the chance to use a fire extinguisher. And in this experience, you are supposed to learn all the steps required to use a fire extinguisher. And these are the results that we got. And we compared that application with a video training tool that I create a link to that video that we took from YouTube, and we basically try to compare from one side the video training, and on the other side, the VR training. So people were asked to tell us what, how they would use a fire extinguisher before the experiment. Then what we did is we ran the experiment with VR or video separately, and then we asked them, okay, what are you supposed to do to use a fire extinguisher? And you can see that the results, of course, are slightly better, definitely better. There is a slightly better outcome for virtual reality, not that great for video, but still they are, I would say, comparable. But something that it was really important to see for us is what will be the things that people will remember after 3-4 weeks. And you can see that in this image, that people that went through VR, they still remember quite a lot of the information, while the people that use video were tend to forgetting all the information. So from a knowledge point of view, it seems that VR can perform much better than a video training. Of course, we didn't test if actually people were capable to use an actual fire extinguisher. This is something that we hope to do in the future. But this study showed quite a lot of interesting insight about what can be achieved using VR training. From an augmented reality point of view, there is quite a lot that has been done to enhance existing training like fire drill and earthquake drills. And you can see that using this technology, you can put people that get injured or people or debris of an earthquake in your virtual, in your real drill. So you can see hologram popping up that created this kind of perception of effect of disasters. So you can see also the presence of smoke on fire that are completely digital, so they don't create any actual risk for the evacuee. And conclusion, we have been going through this presentation in a really quick way, so let's try to get rid of this clock that is annoying us and see what are the conclusion of this long review. So we can see that there is quite a lot that has been done, but there is still a lot that we can learn. And my suggestion is to start reading, but the best way to learn what are the potentialities, testing, practicing with this technology. So try, if you want to start this path using this technology, to buy at least one of the cheapest version of those technology and learn by doing. And there are, as I said, some study about validating and comparing different setup of technology, but there is, I can say there is still a lot that we can do to compare different kind of VR setup and different kind of AR setup, or start even comparing VR with AR. So there is quite a lot that is still there. There's still there need to be investigating for disaster evacuation. And finally, I can say that there is a lot of potential here about this technology, and they have been applied, and we should be proud in mainly in fire disaster, but we have the possibility to start training, testing, and playing with this technology also in many other disasters. There is so a lot that can be done, a lot. And I would like to give you a main reference to read. Of course, have a look at this paper, in which you will find a lot of references. So if you want to learn more, just go through all the references that are listed in this paper. But if you are just at the beginning and you don't know where to start, also start with the 3 key literature reviews that have been already published in journal papers. And I would like to thank you for listening this presentation. I hope you have a question for me. If you don't manage to have a question directly, or you're watching this video after the conference, just use my contacts here in this slide to contact me, and I will be more than happy to give you more explanation about this exciting technology. There is a lot that we are still doing here at university, Massey University, and if you want, also, if you're around Auckland, if you want to visit us and see all the experience that we are creating in our digital lab, please come along, contact me, and we will be more than happy to show you what we are doing in that period. There you are.
Comment here from Candy, just so awesome. Hopefully in the future we can use VR to show the stakeholders our design and no need to write a report. So it's great.
You wish so.
Yeah. Simo has a question, just says, thanks for a review. Okay. Great review. Did you see any work towards combining AR and agent-based evac codes for a real person to become part of the simulation?
Not really. The only application that I've seen in terms of evacuation were simulation done in Unity, and then just applied them in an augmented reality scene to show the results of the simulation. But to be honest, I don't see any issues to import the data inside a game engine like Unity or Unreal and create a visualization of the simulation in augmented reality. Even myself, I managed to do an augmented, if you go on my YouTube channel, you will see that I did a really simple augmented reality visualization of an evacuation scenario, but just for the sake of simplicity, I used the agent-based system implemented in Unity, but it's just a matter of exporting data from one side and importing them in Unity, and it's something that can be done in a couple of minutes if you know to handle the code. And you can even enhance the visualization of the agents. In Evac, we still have the funny guys with a weird shape, so we can also apply some nice animation, but just for the sake of make it nicer. But yeah, that's something possible.
Have you seen or performed validation studies for VR results considering evacuation?
Yeah, there is. If you go through the review, you will see that there are some studies done, especially at Lund University, in which they were they managed to do some comparison between data collected in virtual reality and data were observed in actual accident, and try to understand how much there was overlapping from real scenario and virtual reality scenario. It's still an open, ongoing subject, and we are still doing a lot of research. I can tell you that there is another research going on with a university in Italy in which we are trying to see and compare the use of virtual reality also for making assessment of VR tools and real experiment for assessing a safety system. So there is a lot going on.
Yeah, and it's Enrico's mentioning to Marcella that he can send some of the papers, some of the references that you're mentioning to her. And Simo followed up just with the agent CU. I did want to mention, so we have something in Pathfinder called Pathfinder FP that's kind of in the back burner, but it's a first-person experience where as you move around, the agents have to adjust to your position. It happens in real time, and you can see them and they react to you. So there's technology to do this kind of thing for sure.
And that can be done also in Unity because it's a game engine, and so if you design the game to be an evacuation game, you can actually interact with the agents inside the VR environment or even the AR environment. It's definitely doable.
Yeah, Enrico says, nice presentation. In what evacuation domains do you see more potential for VR and AR? So most studies so far look mostly at visual and hearing systems, not so much on physical interaction. Should we go for augmented virtuality or for studying physical interactions domain?
I really would like to see it more applied for training, to be honest. And there is a lot of potentiality to do a lot of augmented reality training, and we haven't seen it much. We have seen, you can see that there is a lot of work done in Japan, but the limitation has been so far because of the hardware that we had. And with the release of the new technology from Microsoft and many other American companies, I think there is a lot of potentiality to unleash the beast of augmented reality, I would say.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic. Well, that's about the time we have for Q&A here. I don't see anything else coming through right now. So thank you very much, Reno, for your presentation and for the Q&A. Thanks for staying up to be with us today. So we'll talk to you later. And thanks again. Bye-bye.
Bye.